dream is not just to survive, but also to thrive. Every day we go after our goal, and that is to reach our American dream. It depends on each person kung ano bang definition nila ng American dream, but it's the same for everyone. In order to reach that, you have to get your immigration papers in order, and that is why we give you updates here on Kababayan LA.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Attorney Richard Lowe, hello, and thank you so much for joining us once again on Kababayan LA.
Thank you.
So a few days ago, Governor Jerry Brown signed the California Dream Act, and you were saying that it is quite misleading because it has nothing to do with immigration. Can you explain that to us?
Yes, it's unfortunate that they chose the name Dream Act because everybody is now tying that with the federal Dream Act, which was supposed to give status. But
that's why it's so confusing.
Yes,
okay.
You know, California is a state and doesn't have the authority to actually grant any immigration status. What we have done, what the governor has signed, is a bill that does give a lot of benefits to immigrants. That is, people who have studied in the United States in high school and then gone on to college. As you know, now they can pay in-state tuition.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that tuition can be quite high, and many people don't have the wherewithal to pay for that. This Dream Act allows them to now get private scholarship money, to be eligible for private scholarship money in order to pay for that. And there is also a second part of this pending still currently in the legislature, which would allow people here to get public money.
But bottom line is they will still be considered illegal immigrants here.
That's right. There's no status change for them once they complete their time in college or once they complete their education. There's no status change for them. They are still remain in the same status they have been when they started.
All right. Well, that doesn't sound too good a news, does it, in terms of immigration? But thank you for enlightening us today on that issue. Now let's move on to talk about real immigration issues. We're going to start with Plains versus Holder. What is that case, and what does it mean for us?
Well, there have been a couple of cases that have come down on the Ninth Circuit in the last month, which has really changed the way criminal behavior is viewed towards illegal immigrants. Now, one of the first ones here is Plains versus Holder, which basically said that convictions are final when you have a judge saying you're guilty, either from a plea or from a verdict of guilty. This is a little bit different than it had been in the past, where if you filed an appeal, that still remained, the conviction was not still final for immigration purposes.
And the person can still remain here.
Yes, actually, the effect is kind of interesting. If you have a conviction and then you, for example, are taken into immigration custody after that because you're in jail and then you come out of jail and you're in immigration custody, if you had an appeal pending on that conviction, it still wasn't a final conviction, so you could be released. You could be released on bond or something because you did not have a final conviction.
Right.
But now that's not the case. And if you are removable for that offense, then even if you have an appeal, there's still, you
still get deported.
You're still going to get removed even while that appeal is pending.
Okay, and so what happens now? How does this case affect pending cases right now? If there's a conviction already and people are in jail, their cases are on appeal, can they be subjected to removal proceedings already now because of what happened to this?
Yes, basically the Immigration Service no longer has to wait for that appeal process to finish in order to count that conviction against that person for immigration purposes.
Okay.
So it will speed up the process in some cases for some people.
And that is bad news, too.
That is bad news. I mean, it basically, in some ways, you could imagine that if you have committed a crime and you feel that you were innocent and yet you were found guilty and there were some issues with the criminal proceedings and you want to take that up on appeal, you're going to have to fight in two courts now, because if you're going to have to fight your removal in order to stay here, and you're going to have to fight your appellate criminal case in order to win that. And, you know, the government's position is probably going to be, if the appellate court overturns your criminal conviction, even if we remove you, there's ways for you to return to the United States.
Right.
But that's extremely difficult.
Exactly, and you're going to probably have to pay a lot of filing fees and all that. But see, this also reminds us as immigrants to really be careful, really watch what we do here, make sure that we are law-abiding.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, another case, but I'm not sure we have enough time to talk about this. But what is the overall lesson that we're taking away from the case that we just talked about?
The overall lesson is that if you have immigration problems, if you have criminal problems, you need to really find out what's going on. I just want to mention that other case because it is important, because now possession charges will count against you for immigration purposes in the Ninth Circuit. That is a completely different sea change than it used to be. So if you've been sitting on a criminal conviction for possession or some other simple drug offense,
drugs.
any drugs, yes,
Okay.
you really need to move on it now, because it may be that you're not going to be able to do anything about it in the future. So it's fairly important that if those people really try to figure out if there's anything that can be done right now, because that law is changing and it may go away, that benefit may go away from
Right,
people.
and when we talk about moving on it, that means trying to get to a lawyer, because they are the ones that can explain your options to you, and they're the ones that can defend you. That's the number to call on the screen, Aquino and Low Law Firm. They give a free office consultation. If you want, you can email them also or do consultation via the phone, but they will charge a nominal fee. Thank you so much, and more power to you.
Thank you.
Magbabalik pa po ang Kababayan LA. Don't go away.